This is the iTIG 4 Model D. The Model D comes in two different sizes, the 4 kV and the 6, 12 and 15 kV. The D model includes micro-ohm winding resistance, Megohm or insulation resistance, DC Hipot, and the surge test. Also included is the advanced multi-coil test feature and reporting. Optional features include capacitance, inductance, and impedance, as well as RIC, rotor influence check, and partial discharge measurements. The Model D has one high voltage lead set that does all the low voltage and high voltage measurements and tests. There is one black ground lead, and there are 6 red high voltage leads. The 6 red high voltage leads are terminated in 3 clamps labeled 1, 2, and 3 to correspond with phase 1, 2, and 3. Now that we have our tester connected to a motor, we can run a quick demonstration. We will be testing a 460 volt 3-phase concentric wound stator. The concentric wound stator has obviously a different type of layout of the coil, so we expect to see some fun differences in the surge waveforms. We will be using the 4 kV for this demonstration, but the operation on the 6, 12, and 15 will be the same. Power on the instruments, the iTIG software will automatically come up. We click Start and get to our customer directory or motor database. We already have our motor programmed into the database, so we click the row containing our serial number. We now get our motor information, so that includes serial number, job number, equipment tag, location, and the nameplate information. We want to start a new test set, so we click Test. We are now on the tab on the right-hand side, the Test Summary tab. We will work our way from left to right. There are a few optional fields that are nice to use from a reporting perspective on this screen. So, test description, just one word about what we are testing. In this case, it's a stator. We also have a test stage. You can use the function drop-down menu to select from a list of pre-entered ESA and IEEE test stages. I'm going to use an incoming used test stage. Operator information, I'd like to use my initials. And we're now ready to do the final setup of the test set. Go to the lower left corner, the left-hand tab, setup screen. At the top of the screen, you'll see the Hipot and surge test voltage formula. In this case, it's 2 times operating voltage plus 1000. This is related to the test stage we selected on the previous screen. If you want to use any other different formula, you can click any of the white fields and change the parameters in the formula, or change the test voltage itself. Or you can click the functional drop-down menu again and select a different test stage if you decide to do so. You can enter in the humidity as well as the winding temperature. We will use the winding temperature to correct both the winding resistance measurement and the insulation or Megohm measurement. Next up, auto mode and limit setup. Anything that's selected green on the left-hand side will be included in the test set. So this will be capacitance, inductance, impedance, an optional feature, winding resistance, Megohm or insulation resistance, Hipot, and the surge test. We'll also include partial discharge in this demonstration. At the top of the screen here, you can also select whether you're testing on a 3-phase motor or a single-phase motor. You can also select what type of profile to use for both the Megohm and Hipot test. In this case, we have selected a 1-minute dielectric absorption ratio test for the Meg, as well as a 1-point Hipot test for the Hipot measurement. If you click the drop-down menu, you can see we have some predefined test profiles, both for Megohm and Hipot. That includes a PI measurement, for example, that collects multiple points, 5-point, 10-point, and ramp tests for the Hipot. With the Model D, you can also program and add your own profiles. On the right-hand side, we have the pass-fail criteria for each measurement and test. As we start the full auto test, if any of the measurements or tests do not meet these pass-fail criteria, the test set will automatically be aborted and the operator notified to take a look at what's going on. We'll click Save Motor Test Configuration, Exit Setup. This is now stored for the serial number, meaning next time you come back to test this motor, there's no setup required. We have connected lead 1, 2, and 3 to phase 1, 2, and 3, as well as our ground clip to the frame of the motor. So we are now ready to start the test set. We'll say Start Full Auto Test. The instrument will now go through and do all the measurements and tests in one automatic sequence. We could, if we wanted to, go to the individual tabs and do the measurements manually. All right, we are ready. We click the red button once and it will start with the low voltage measurements. In this case, measure the inductance, capacitance, impedance. Make sure that we pass our balance test, which we did. Move on to the resistance measurement. We're now measuring winding resistance in phase 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and 3 to 1, calculating the max delta R, which in this case was close to 0. Great results. We passed our pass-fail criteria and moved on to the Megohm measurement. The instrument automatically ramps up the voltage to 500 volts in this case. It measures the leakage current in microamps, calculates the Megohm, and then corrects the Megohm to 40 degrees Celsius in accordance to the international standards. We'll sit here for 1 minute, calculate the absorption ratio, and as long as we pass our pass-fail criteria for the Meg and DAR, we will move on to the Hipot test. So at the 1 minute mark, the instrument will automatically discharge the windings and display our rating. We passed our Megohm measurement, so we're now on to the Hipot test. Automatically ramps up the voltage to our design test voltage, 1920 in this case, measuring the leakage current, and we will again sit here for 1 minute before discharging. After sitting here for a minute, the instrument will now automatically discharge the windings. You can see the bar in the bottom here going from red to blue, and we move on to the surge test. Just completed the surge in phase 1, PD phase 1, surge and PD phase 2, and then surge and PD in phase 3. This is very fast. What you're seeing here is the PD results in phase 3. We did not get a repetitive inception voltage or extinction voltage, but we had some PD hits. Looking at phase 2, we actually did achieve a repetitive inception and extinction voltage. And similarly in phase 1, that also occurred. The gray spikes along the x-axis is how we display the partial discharge events. Looking at the surge test results, so hiding the PD results, we're now looking at the 3 surge results overlapped. As you can tell, the waveforms are not completely matching, and our percent wave differences are relatively high, and that's because we have a concentric wound stator. In order to make sure that the insulation system in this particular stator is good or bad, meaning do we get the differences in the waveforms because of the concentric wound nature of the stator, or is it because we have poor insulation? To figure that out, we would use the pulse-to-pulse surge test feature. We'll include a link in this video so you can see a demonstration of how that is done. At the end of the test set, we go back to our last tab, the test summary screen, where we get our pass-fail recommendations. Again, we failed the surge test because of this concentric wound stator layout. When you're done with your test set, you click the folder button to exit test mode. Everything is automatically stored. There's no save operation. We can now click View Print Pass Test and get a full record of all the test sets that have been done on the serial number. We can display test if you want to go back and look at the screens that we just went through, or you can say Print Report. Click Print Report, we have options to include trends, for example, and PD waveforms. When I now hit the print button, a pre-formatted PDF will be stored on the instrument. That can include a cover page with your company contact information and logo and so on. And this report can now, if you folder out to the database, again, you can now transfer this report and the raw data files to your PC or company server or company cloud storage using either a USB file transfer or Ethernet or Wi-Fi.